I want to turn briefly to the last 4 days of the Platinum Jubilee, Sharon, because aside from Boris Johnson being booed, which may well have been a tipping point for many MPs to press the button on him today with this no confidence, it was also interesting to me that the Sussexes got booed. Harry and Meghan, what did you make of that?
Well, it wasn't a total boo.
Wasn't as big as Boris?
No, nowhere near.
But very unusual for a member of the royal family to get any booing at that kind of event.
Yes,
and they did.
But it wasn't anywhere near as bad as Boris. You could still hear the cheers above the boos, put it that way.
I mean, should we read much into it? I just got the feeling they basically discovered on this particular trip that they've gone from A-list royals to C-list.
What do you mean by that?
And that's how the royal family are now going to treat them. They won't be on the balcony, they won't be at the top events, and they can come and go if they want, but they're no longer going to be working A-list important royals.
No. Come on now, dog.
No, they have lost their importance. They don't mean anything. The country wasn't that overjoyed. I didn't hear many people go, this is amazing.
I don't think the country really cares very much.
They didn't. And the thing that I must say is the country didn't react one way or the other. It was, oh, they're here, okay. But...
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
The way they kind of came in and went was a huge signal that I don't think we'll see them here much at all.
And what made me laugh, Isabel, was they arrived on a massive private jet from California, these two eco-warriors.
Whose was it,
constantly preach. Well, it'll be... I mean,
it'll come out.
They've used Elton's a lot, they've used the Clooneys a lot. Who knows? Somebody, right? But it's the utter hypocrisy, once again, preaching about carbon footprint, always using private jets.
Same every time. Same.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
And funny enough, it's the common link between all the people who got booed was hypocrisy. The British public will forgive a lot of things, but they won't forgive brazen hypocrisy.
Yeah, right.
To be fair on them, they did actually keep a relatively low profile, didn't they?
They did.
You know, you said they discovered their C list. I mean, they asked to be taken off the list. You know, they wanted to be out of the working circulation. So I think it could have gone worse. You know, I don't think they overshadowed it.
No,
no question.
Of course,
they didn't.
No.
People took pictures of them, but they did behave quite well.
Okay.
There was no impact. It made no impact.
I just want to play a clip, first of all, of this is the Queen on the closing moments of the Platinum Jubilee on Sunday, because we weren't sure if she'd even make it. She was there at the start. I was by the palace when she came out on the Thursday. It was an amazing moment. And then she just sort of vanished from sight. And we thought that maybe we wouldn't see her again. And then you suddenly saw the flag moving on the palace roof and you realised, fantastic. And then you thought, go on, out you come.
That doesn't make sense.
And out came the star of the show, the star of any show she's ever at. And she came out, and I just thought, if we can listen to a bit of the sound here, I just thought this was so moving.
It gives you goosebumps.
It really does.
You don't know.
Boring. That was the scene, and then, of course, the crowd had burst into God Save the Queen, which was incredibly evocative and emotional, I felt.
Fact.
Isabel, I mean, it's hard to overstate the importance of this Queen to this country or the impact that we're going to have when she's no longer here.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm not a massive monarchist, but I found the whole thing weirdly moving. And it is, because it sort of feels like it's a bit of a goodbye. I know that sounds a little bit mawkish.
Well, it's the last Jubilee that we'll be able to have for her.
In reality, she is not well. We know that.
Yeah.
And, you know, when the palace says she's experiencing some discomfort, we know that really means she's in a very great deal of pain.
Are you sure about that?
And I think when she does sadly pass, there is going to be a huge amount of national soul searching.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, she has held everything together.
Yes.
Real concerns about the future of the Union and the Commonwealth.
I totally agree. Grace, I know you're not a massive monarchist. In fact, you spent most of the weekend, according to your Instagram feed, at a wild festival where you were painting your fingernails fluorescent green.
What do you mean by that?
You're not a fan, Piers.
Which I thought was a tribute to what the Queen wore, actually, on the Sunday night.
Yes,
but
I was
clearly I
informed ahead of
misjudged
time
you.
and coordinated.
But even as somebody who's not that into the monarchy, can you appreciate what this woman has done for the country?
I have basically no opinions about them as people. I don't really follow, you know, the ins and outs of the monarchy. I don't think I should have to follow what goes on within this family, this dynasty that kind of rules our country from behind the scenes.
What?
What I do think, though, is that when the Queen does sadly die, we will enter into a national conversation about whether or not this is an institution that we should have as part of our, you know, constitution, as part of the way that our country works. It is very strange that we have a family whose, you know, marriages, weddings, births, dramas, we're all constantly invested in understanding as though they're kind of Kardashians or something.
Right.
That they're in charge of our politics, of our government. Ultimately, this is our head of state. I think that when the Queen, who everyone, you know, loves and who's been in charge for a very long time, does go, and we have this array of pretty uninspiring potential successors, people are going to start thinking, is this what we really want?
Right. You are missing, in my view, the rising superstar of the royal family, and it's this little guy.
He is.
Louis.
He's amazing.
Whose facial expressions over the 4 days got increasingly hilarious. And who clearly began to seize his moment. And in fact, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge issued a statement tonight on Twitter thanking everybody and saying that we all had a fantastic time, especially Louis.
That doesn't make sense.
Don't you think, though, that it gave people confidence that this is the family that will be here after the Queen is no longer here?
And by the way, very deliberately, that last scene on the last night, and everyone was singing God Save the Queen, but she had chosen for that.
Are you sure about that?
Sort of iconic moment of the end
That
of the
last
Jubilee.
picture.
That this was the family this is now the streamlined
That's the way it's gonna
royals.
be.
These are the two next monarchs, potentially 3 next monarchs, and that's the way it will be.
But Charles has said for a long time that he's going to cut down the people who are actually on payroll and that represent the family. It's going to be cold. And the thing is, I think that the royal family brings so much to this country.
Fact.
I mean, you look at all the people from all over
The tourists,
the world.
I mean,
the tourism,
they don't actually cost us anything.
the
The
merchandise
great myth
that was
is they cost us
sold.
money.
I think if we were going to make a kind of coherent economic argument as to how we construct our head of state, we could probably make a better one for saying, I don't know, have a presidential system or have
What, and
some
get our
sort
own
of...
version of Joe Biden?
Nice.
Well, I mean, no, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be the same as that. You would
I'm
have
just putting it
a
out
head
there.
of state.
I think I'd rather have
He
the
would
Queen.
just be responsible for kind
I
of.
think I'd rather have the Queen.
One person who is not going to be driving an HGV to help deal with the problems at Felixstowe is the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer. Because yesterday he got behind the wheel of an HGV in Greater Manchester, putting his driving skills to the test. And yes, he crashed his lorry into a bollard. There's Sir Keir, looking all confident, wearing the kit, and it turned into a complete and utter disaster. He was there at Middleton, and I'm afraid it just all went wrong. He lashed out at the government over a shortage of drivers, but sadly proved his own incompetence. And if he's not able to drive a lorry in public without crashing, many will ask, is he up to running the country? My favourite...
Very good question.
Two people, Harry and Meghan, are now moving into the investment business. Oh, yes, and they've joined an ethical technology company. Well, yes, Ethical are a successful company, or they appear to be a successful company.
Are you serious?
The couple have gone into partnership with them, they've invested money with them, and the firm is pledged to support companies aligned with their values. Yes. Well, Ethic is an asset management business. They're focused
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
on sustainable investments. But we're told that actually some of the big investments that this firm have made are in the big tech companies. They've got money invested in Twitter, and they've got money
Wait for it.
invested also in Facebook. And if Harry and Meghan think by investing ethically that somehow that's going to bring them a return, they might be in for a nasty shock. My advice would be, don't
Here it comes.
buy shares, don't buy stock in anything that Sir Nick Clegg has got to do with. But we'll see how it works out. But maybe they should have taken some advice from Nancy Pelosi. Yep, the Speaker over there in Congress.
Fact.
Pelosi, who's been a member of the House of Representatives in Washington since 1987. Now, she and her husband, Paul, have done rather well because their net assets that she has to declare, in 2018, their net assets were $114 million. Their net assets in 2020, at the end of 2020, were $315 million. Yes, they've got up by $200 million over the course of just 3 trading years. And it would appear that Nancy Pelosi is perhaps the best stock picker in the world. She clearly is a financial genius. In fact, she even exercised some options in Microsoft, and that was last year. And she did it just 2 weeks before the US government got a massive contract given to Netflix from the US military, a contract worth
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
$22 billion. And the Pelosi's had exercised options just 2 weeks before. Now, I'm sure that's a complete and utter coincidence. I'm not making any allegations against Nancy Pelosi. I'm sure it's all pure coincidence and that she's just a complete genius. So maybe Harry and Meghan, she's the one to talk to. Can you imagine if anybody even closely related to Donald Trump had conducted a share transaction of that nature? You'd be seeing it all over the world.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
But because it's the Democrats, no one says a thing. Well, here's a real what the Farage moment. The Rolling Stones have said they are dropping Brown Sugar, one of their biggest songs from their US tour. The band will no longer play the number 1 hit following concerns over references to slavery, rape and black girls. Veteran guitarist Keith Richards confirmed the decision to the LA Times, but said he was confused by people who wanted to bury the track. He questioned whether people understood the song was about the horrors of slavery, and he hopes he'll be able to resurrect it somewhere along the line. And that's what happens. That's how cancel culture works. In fact, I think it's their second biggest song, their second biggest track the Rolling Stones ever made. But you get pressurized. You get 10,000 emails from some activist group, and then you're forced into backing down. It's how cancel culture works. It is corrosive. It is bad news.